When The Crow emerged 30 years ago, it changed how audiences could perceive graphic novel adaptations. It was dark, gritty, violent, and well ahead of its time. On top of that, it also had one of the best soundtracks of the decade. However, it also spawned some pretty bad sequels. After the release of the last one 2 decades ago, it seemed just as long for a remake of the original to come into fruition, with multiple actors and directors coming and going. Finally, after all that time, we got to see exactly what The Crow would look like in 2024. The reactions have been, well, let's just say a little more or less than enthused. But what if I told you there was one you probably forgot about? One that has the most bonkers casting out of the entire franchise. One that misses the mark by such a wide margin that it will make the new SoundCloud Crow look revolutionary. Hi folks, Mike Conway here for JoBlo Horror Originals, and I'm going to talk about all of this and more as I go back to 2005 with The Crow Wicked Prayer, today on Horror Party Movies. Pray for me. Wicked Prayer follows the story of Jimmy Cuervo, a former convict struggling to make ends meet in a contaminated mining town nestled within a reservation, who teeters on the brink of completing his probation. Dreaming of a fresh start with his beloved Lily, he plans to bid farewell to the town's woes. However, his aspirations are shattered when Luke Crash and Lola Byrne, leaders of a local satanic biker gang, execute Jimmy and Lily in a ritual aimed at summoning the Antichrist. Reanimated by the Crow's mystical intervention, Jimmy embarks on a solitary quest for retribution. His path then crosses with El Nino, the gang's leader, as he seeks to avenge the heinous acts perpetrated against him and his love. Sounds awesome, right? Oh boy, just you wait.
A new sheriff in town.
So, how party is this movie? Well, according to my scale, this hits the top of the charts as one of the partiest of them all.
The apocalypse is gonna be one hell of a honeymoon.
And as always, I'm gonna make a drink to tie along with the movie. So let's hop back behind the bar and get right to it. We'll be right back with the rest of the episode, but first, a word from our sponsor.
Hi, are you like me and desperately need some coffee after having a very long night?
But your coffee mug handle is small as fuck, and you're so unfocused you can't even press the button, and when the coffee comes out it's just water, and you throw papers off the desk because the kids at the skate park called you a poser? Well, change that shit coffee mug to JoBlo Coffee Mug. Not only will it pour you correct coffee, but it'll also change you from boring to cool. JoBlo Coffee Mug. The world may be shit, but at least you look cool in it.
Before we continue with our video, here's a reminder to click the Store tab on any of our JoBlo channels and browse our collection of the latest and freshest designs in our merch store. Go get you some.
As with any game, there are some basic rules you can follow or modify. For today's game, take a drink when a crow appears on screen, every time there's a flashback, when Danny Trejo does his dumbass crow dance, when Dennis Hopper says shorty, and finally, with any kill. If alcohol isn't your bag, there are plenty of other things to choose from. Cannabis if legal in your state, Delta 8, 9, 10, or whatever the hell number they're at now. Caffeine, hot sauce, anything. Do people really play the drinking game?
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
Just know your tolerance. This is supposed to be fun. We don't want to send you to the hospital. Basically, don't be a dumbass. Here, read this disclaimer if that helps. So, does The Crow Wicked Prayer cross the so bad it's good line? You know what? Screw the cocktail. Gather up some friends, crack open a beer, and let's dive right into this piece of shit. The movie starts immediately trying to be a Robert Rodriguez flick, complete with zoom ins and a Southwestern type score. We get introduced to the movie's villains as if it were a cutscene from a video game. Yeah, it tells you their names, but trust me, you won't remember them. But for the sake of following along, they are named after the Four Horsemen. And I'm not talking about Flair, the Andersons, and Blanchard. There's famine, war, and pestilence. And they're here for one thing and one thing only: revenge. Revenge of what exactly? Shit, I don't know. Anyway, these dudes, along with a woman named Lola Byrne, infiltrate a prison cleanup crew and freed their leader and the most handsome prisoner you'll ever see, Luke Crash. After pretending to set a priest on fire, Luke turns to Lola to pop the question. Sorry, filmmakers, but there's only room for one Crash and Byrne in this town.
Hackers of the world unite.
We then meet Jimmy Cuervo, who lives in a dump of a trailer and is just trying to get by. However, in this town, everyone around him thinks he kills someone and treats him like trash. One person who doesn't believe a word of this nonsense is Lily, Jimmy's girlfriend. After giving a speech about the legend of the Crow out of fucking nowhere, at her father's blueprint of a casino unveiling, Jimmy tells her that his parole will be up at midnight and he wants them both to leave town.
It's a great day to be alive, ain't it?
Something tells me I doubt it. Later that day, Jimmy suits up with some fresh roses and an engagement ring and bikes down to Lily's work, looking like Billy the Puppet from Saw. However, when he gets there, he's greeted by Lola and the rest of the gang. They wrap a noose around Jimmy and Lily and take out Lily's eyes before hanging them both. Damn. Luke then performs a Mortal Kombat fatality on Jimmy by removing his heart. After some satanic chanting, the number of the beast appears on Luke's chest. That's enough of that summary. If you have seen even one of these movies, you know exactly how this thing's gonna play out. I mean, the plot, though, is so jumbled. There's something about a town of miners, a casino being built, a dude trying to be the Antichrist, and apparently Jimmy killed somebody? Honestly, for a bit, I had no idea what the fuck was going on because I was accidentally watching this movie with the Italian track on. I was like, they must be going for some spaghetti western type vibe.
Torna subito al lavoro, niente liquidazione.
For 10 minutes.
Has that ever happened to you?
Look, I'm not a dumbass. I heard that this movie was pretty bad. I just thought it was some really bad dubbing in Spanish. Anyway, I went back, started it over, and laughed just as hard at the awful dialogue.
Will you marry me, Lola Byrne?
Till death do us part, Luke Crash.
Good God. You know what? I might need something a little bit stronger.
Lodate il Signore, è quasi giunta l'ora della resurrezione di Gesù.
So before I get into how bad this thing is, I want to talk about the positives. Yes, there are some positives. I appreciated how this film took a complete 180 from the others by placing it in a desert setting instead of the dark gothic city vibes from the previous films. I mean, if you're going to tell the same story, try to make it different, I guess. Another positive is the casting of Edward Furlong as the lead. If you're like me and skipped this movie when it came out solely because Eddie F was on that horrendous cover, then you'll be pleased to know that he does a great job. Despite the really dumb shit written for him, he at least gives it his all and never looks bored. When I was a kid in the 90s, this dude was the coolest. I mean, you got T2, Pet Sematary 2, Brain Scan, Pecker, Detroit Rock City. This guy owned. But the fact that he was cast in a direct-to-video Crow sequel is laughable. Nonetheless, he rocked. I can't say the same for his barber though. Alright, so that's all the positives I have. So crack open another one and let's get right to the fun stuff. First, let's talk about how completely random and bonkers this cast is. Apart from John Connor, you have Tara Reid, Tito Ortiz, Tank from The Matrix, Danny Trejo, Chosen from The Karate Kid Part 2, David Boreanaz is now playing Death, and freaking Dennis Hopper. How the hell did they agree to this script? Mind you, 3 people wrote this. The script tries its best to sound poetic, but delivers some of the most asinine and laughable dialogue.
Have you lost your mind, sis?
And one of the dudes behind this dumpster fire wrote and directed Six String Samurai. What? Never heard of this obscure flick from the 90s? Jesus Christ, now I'm sounding like a hipster. Next, we have Boreanaz fresh off Angel. More like fresh off angel dust because the dude looks like he snorted a huge line before every take.
Really? Wanna fucking dance? Pick any city. Paris?
Tonight, Satan's gonna walk in my shoes.
It's that kind of commitment to a role that would make Nick Cage say, "Whoa, buddy, take it down a notch." And this is seriously a movie where the gangs for Satan chill and eat deviled eggs. No shit. Then you have Tara Reid. Or Tara Reid. I don't think she's a bad actress at all, so I have no idea why she succumbed to the world of D-list movies. Looking at her filmography though, it looks like it all started with this one. I mean, her character makes no sense. First she's down with the Satan, and then she's down with the Jesus.
Nobody fucks with the Jesus.
Unfortunately, she comes off as very bored. and there are some areas where she looks like she made a huge mistake being in this. Then we have the complete out of left field casting I've ever seen, Dennis Hopper. He plays the head of the order El Nino. However, when his name comes out of his mouth, he sounds like that drunk relative at a party who's kinda racist and then tries to say something in Spanish.
It's El Nino.
Hopper was a legend, and I'm willing to bet that he knew exactly what movie he was in and was just there to collect a check. But damn, that doesn't mean we get anything lazy from him. Hearing him call women shorties had me rolling the entire time, especially when he performs the wedding ceremony for Lola and Luke, who is now Lucifer. Don't ask.
I now pronounce you devil and his shorty.
I spoke about how great Furlong was as an actor, but something changes when he becomes a crow, and it's not his fault. For instance, he puts the crow makeup on with a Sharpie for God's sakes, and looks like he shopped out of the clearance section out of Hot Topic. The action, or lack thereof, is comically absurd to the point where the hits look more believable during a pro wrestling match. And even though the final showdown between Luke and Jimmy at least has some style, it all gets ruined by a single line uttered by Jimmy.
Quote the raven nevermore, motherfucker!
This is that type of golden cheese you'll find throughout this movie. Hey, at least Furlong has something in common with Reed. They both were in Uwe Boll films. Here's hoping Eddie gets that career resurgence he deserves. And lastly, I have to mention Danny Trejo. I watched this movie a couple times already, and I have no idea why this character is so important to the story other than one single scene. He's the father of Lily and has been on the hunt for her killer, whom he still believes is Jimmy. But when he realizes that Jimmy is the crow and the actual crow dies, Jimmy removes his shirt to show us his tats and performs the silliest resurrection dance. Look at him go. And that's it. Really, the level of ridiculousness in this movie is so high that it would probably take as long as the film itself to talk about it. The Crow Wicked Prayer came out in 2005, went straight to video and straight to 0 on Rotten Tomatoes. It was the final film in the franchise until the recent remake that came out. And I know people are pretty upset about it. They're shitting on Brandon Lee's legacy by making him Eric Draven. Don't forget, they shat on that already in 1998.
Careful, I don't want to hurt anyone.
You know what they say, no pain, no gain.
One thing is for certain, as bad as the movie is, as bad as the dialogue is, bad as the action is, it kept me entertained throughout the entire runtime. So gather some friends, crack open some drinks, have a blast with it. Until next time, guys, have a good one.